exactly 9 p.m. Hi, guys, welcome to today's episode of Stock to Finish. It's a series we started a couple of days ago, 50 something days to be precise, where we've been looking at how to help people complete what they've started. We've talked about how to define goals properly, we've talked about how you need to be accountable to yourself. And today we're going to be talking about self accountability and discipline. We established a couple of things. Fact one, everyone is motivated, or people already know that they should set goals. Most people are aware that they should set goals, but the problem is that they do not accomplish what they've started. They do not finish what they've started. So the desire to start is not the problem. It's the strength to continue, to stay on track, to not get sidetracked once you have started. That's the issue we are facing, and today's conversation is going to be on accountability. Now, why are we talking about accountability, and what way are we going to be looking at accountability? So, with accountability, what we're talking about is simple. It's about how you can complete what you've started by holding yourself accountable, by being responsible for your actions and inactions, and not blaming every other person from your village. But you're answerable for your actions, your decisions, and the results that you get. So no one else gets credit for your failure or your success, your ability to start and your ability to continue. It's all based on you. So whether you're accountable to someone, accountable to a coach, accountable to yourself, you take full responsibility and ownership of every single thing that happens to you, but the things that you can control. We identify the fact that there are certain things that are within your control and others are not. So, what are the things that you can control? What are the internal things and the external things? Well, we'll find out as we go on. So, why are we looking at accountability, and why am I emphasizing self accountability? Now, self accountability is a practice of taking full responsibility for what actions and decisions and personal development. So, there's an addition to it. So, sometimes accountability can be external. So, you're part of an accountability group. You have an accountability coach like me holding you accountable for your actions. And before I talk about accountability coaches, I want to know if you can hear me on other platforms, on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube. Let me know if I have good volume, if my audio is good, so I know that I'm not speaking to myself like last time, because the last time my audio wasn't connected. But hopefully this time around the audio is connected. So if the audio is connected and you can hear me, please just write self accountability. So I know that we are on the same page. Self accountability. Why am I making it about you and not the people that you are accountable to? Because whether you're accountable to a group, you're accountable to your friend, you're accountable to your lecturers, your boss, your line managers, whoever you're accountable to, you have to take the actions. No one takes these actions on your behalf. No one is going to open your mouth for you to eat. You have to digest the food yourself. So that's why we're talking about self accountability, because you play a very active role. Your role cannot be passive when it comes to getting things done. So when we're looking at self accountability, we're looking at it with regards to getting things done, with regards to setting your goals, with regards to showing up, having whatever you need to have in ensure that you are doing exactly what needs to be done. So, what's the significance of self accountability in personal growth? We've said it's about personal growth, right? One, it's about ownership of actions, and I will say in actions. So, whatever you do, whatever goes wrong, whatever happens, it's you that takes responsibility and ownership. You do not delegate the ownership of your personal growth to someone else. What this does is it encourages you to take control, ownership of your decisions and action. So in order to do this, you need to understand why you're doing what you do. This goes beyond self-awareness, because you have to realize that there's an impact of your decisions, your actions, and your choices. And then the outcomes, the responsibility for the outcomes is taken by you. And to me, it leads to a greater sense of control over one's life. Continuous improvement. Now, when we get out of school, learning doesn't end. Learning is not limited to the four walls of your school. And then you get into an office. Your learning and your growth is not limited to the four walls of your office. It's about understanding that in this life you have to keep on learning, and continuous improvement is dependent on you. You play an active role when it comes to your continuous improvement. You are proactive, not reactive, because certain things that you are learning, certain things that you're doing will help you improve your strengths, get better at the things that you are doing, and be the best version of yourself. While your weaknesses also, when you identify them, you can find ways to buffer your weaknesses in order for them not to be the things that will derail you. This process of continuous improvement is determined by you. So you're like, okay, what am I good at? What do I want to go? What do I need to learn about where I want to go? If I want to have a PhD, I want to lecture, what are the things that I need to do? If I want to go to on TEDx stages, what are the things that I need to do? So when it comes to my personal improvement journey, I am taking responsibility. I have decided the path I want to go. I've always told the story of how I was supposed to be doing a PhD in international security and terrorism, and now I'm doing something entirely different. That's because I took ownership of my own improvement. It doesn't have to do with it must not be linked to your current job, your current field of studies. It could be areas of interest. It could be things that you want to improve about yourself. Improvement, changing it, growth. Take charge of your growth. Now, when we talk of resilience and adaptability, thank you very much, Comfort and Esther. When it comes to resilience and accountability, everything is not going to go the way we want it to go all the time. And that's the fact. Everything will not run perfectly, but one thing is going to be consistent, and that's you. So you have to understand that in order for you to grow, you have to be flexible and adaptable. Yes, I say be proactive and not reactive, but there are certain times that you may need to react and adapt, but you should give yourself the opportunity to succeed. You do not blame external circumstances for the things that went wrong. But if failure happens and certain things that you did not do made it happen, you will accept responsibility. But that resilience that, okay, this is not the end. I did not succeed this time. I will keep doing. That's what self accountability does for you. And when it comes to achieving your growth, we set goals for ourselves, we set meaningful goals for ourselves, we set smart goals for ourselves. We've talked about that. But how do you ensure you stay on track? How do you ensure you stay committed? How do you ensure that you maintain consistency in your efforts? Because goals are just there, they are standard. Then the actions we take are what makes those goals come to pass. So, how are you going to be consistent with the actions you take, the efforts you put in, and take the necessary steps to accomplish your goals? That's what self accountability talks. And let's pause a bit here and talk about integrity and trust. Integrity and trust. This is something that we don't really talk about when it comes to accountability, especially self accountability. I remember when I joined, when I was doing, bless me, when I was doing prayer partners. So it's kind of similar. I asked people, what do you want in a prayer partner? And I can ask you that question. If you're going to have an accountability partner, what are the things you would require this person to have? Let's talk about it. If you're going to have an accountability partner, somebody that will hold you accountable for what you're supposed to do, what are the things you would like this person to see in this person? You want the person to be what? Just write in the chat, and I can give you a couple of words that people have used before. Because when you have an accountability partner, that person holds you accountable for what you're doing. The person makes sure that you're on track. So some people say, oh, I want the person to be reliable, I want the person to be trustworthy, I want the person to be honest, I want the person to be kind even when they're giving me feedback, because you will get feedback from your accountability partners. I want somebody that is also very, very knowledgeable, someone that is interested in their own personal growth and development. So these are the things people say they want in an accountability partner. Now, if you're going to have someone to hold you accountable for what you are doing, you need to know what you want that kind of person to be. You can't just accept accountability from anybody. You have to ensure that you draw a picture of who this person is. Is the person someone that is reliable? Does the person have integrity and trust? Does the person trustworthy? Is the person honest? Will the person take your ideas and steal your ideas and present it as their own? Because that has been known to happen to people. So when you come up with a list, come up with a list of the things you want in an accountability partner. That was a little exercise I gave them. And after that, I asked a simple question: do you have these skills? Do you have these qualities? And the answer most people said was they wish they did, but in truth, they did not. Because there has to be trust. So if you are not trustworthy, how do you want somebody that is trustworthy to be trustworthy to you? Holding yourself accountable builds integrity and trust. It's not just with yourself, but with others. And when you know that you have to be reliable and consistent in your actions, even those actions that nobody knows about, nobody is going to check whether you've done it. Oh, I've said journal every day. I'm not going to check if you've journaled. If you say you're going to do something every day, oh, I want to make a commitment to pray every day, and you don't do it, no one is going to know. If you want to get another degree or you're planning to start reading so that by the time you go back to school, you are prepared and you don't do it, you are not letting anybody down but yourself. Integrity and trust has to do with you speaking the words about what you're doing, making a commitment to yourself, and not breaking that commitment, even if no one knows you made that commitment. How many times do we tell ourselves we do something, or someone asks us, or our boss, or somebody that would not really check asks us to do something, and then we don't do it? That means we are not trustworthy. So integrity and trust has to do with doing what you say you will do. You being intentional about being there for yourself, showing up for yourself. And it enhances your relationship with yourself because you begin to trust yourself. When you say you will do something, you know you will do it. But there's sometimes we say it with our mouth, but our heart is not in it. So let our mind, our heart, our spirit, our soul, our body be connected when we're making commitments to ourselves. When we get to the position of writing our resolutions, what we resolve to do, what we are deciding to do with regards to our work, our life, our tools, every single thing. When you're making that resolution for yourself, think about it. Will I show up when I say I will show up? If your answer is no, then that's something that you need to look at. All right, personal responsibility. Many of us hold others responsible, but we don't want to be held responsible, especially when it comes to our actions. You have so much in you. There's this responsibility that you have to take for your personal growth. Yes, you may not have the resources. Yes, you may not have the grades. Yes, you may not have the personality and every other thing. But what do you have? And how are you being proactive to ensure that the one that you have, you can mold it into the best version of yourself? It's about taking initiative and creating positive change. I always use myself as an example that when I started off, I wasn't this confident. I was just speaking. And even days I'm having a flare up, I said, you know what, I'm going to make this commitment and ensure that I meet my 30 days goal. Not everyone does that. But it's about taking responsibility and not outsourcing it. It's about understanding that you are the best person for yourself to decide what direction you want to go, the effort you want to put in, and how you're going to show up. Show up for yourself. Don't show up because your boss is going to check. Sometimes we do things because other people will be upset. Personal responsibility is simply this: you're saying to yourself and to others, especially to yourself, that every action I take, I will hold myself responsible for it. My personal growth is determined by me. I could ask others for advice, but at the end of the day, the choice is mine. Like my mother always says, the ball is in your court. Which way do you want to play? Change starts with you. As I say, charity begins at home. I will say change starts with you. So help me put that in the chat. Change starts with me. It starts with you. No one else is going to do this for you. And this is a long read, so I will just talk a little bit about it. So we talk about the impact of self-awareness in fostering self-accountability. Self-awareness is something that we've talked about a lot. We've moved from, if anybody can remind me, self-awareness to self-acceptance to self-action. And now after self-action, we're adding self-accountability. Because when you say you will take an action, you have to hold yourself accountable to do this. So when you say you're going to hold yourself accountable, it's about you improving yourself. So it allows you to do this objective self-evaluation, as we've called it. Because we have to do an honest assessment of your strengths and your weaknesses. And you have to be honest. Sometimes we lie to ourselves. I'm the best singer when you know you cannot sing. What are you deceiving? Don't deceive yourself. Accept the fact that your voice is crooked. If you want to train it, train it. But it's about acceptance of who you are and then taking action, honest assessment of where you are now, not where you wish you will be. You may not be the best when it comes to copywriting. You may not be the best when it comes to graphic design. You won't say you are, you will not lie to yourself. Yes, you call yourself a graphic designer, but you are still at a level that you need to grow with your Canvas skills. So you're going to keep practicing, even if no one reminds you to. Because after your evaluation comes your direction. Now you know your abilities, you know your values, you know where you need to go. You now give yourself that direction to say, this is the path that I will take. And it's all because of self accountability. And sometimes we wait for others to give us correction when we are on the wrong path. Unfortunately, in the creator economy, self correction is important. You have to be able to say, this is where I am derailing before someone tells me I want to correct it. You have to understand when you are not writing properly, when you are not speaking properly, when you are not presenting yourself in the way you should, when you're not doing your exercise the way you should, when you are not cooking the way you should, if that's your own goal and objective. Self correction and all this improves decision making. So, the first one we said allows objective self evaluation, which provides direction that enables correction and improves decision making. Now that decision making has been improved, what happens? It builds grit and persistence. You can't give up. See, there's this thing that you have that no one can take from you. And that desire to see yourself succeed will make you persist no matter what. So we talk about persistence, we talk about your willpower being strengthened. It enables delayed gratification. When everybody is saying, oh, they want results now, you're like, I'm looking at the end of it all. Even if no one will know if I take shortcuts, no, I will know. But what then happens? Because you're taking action. You're taking action, but you're not taking it once. This is what happens to us as individuals. When we talk about self accountability, we do something once, we do something twice, we do it for 1 month, and we think we've done enough, and we are tired. But it's not about taking action once, it's about taking action consistently. It's consistent action that produces excellence, not to action once. Remember the story I always tell of the tortoise and the hare? And I always say this, that the tortoise wasn't as skilled as the hare, and but the tortoise did something. It stayed on track and it kept moving. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. The hare was going everywhere, gisting with everybody, running back and forth, going everywhere, but not on the same track. And what then happened? Because it was distracted, he did not get the results he wanted. So when we are talking about self accountability, it's not about starting something and saying, "Oh, I've done one," and then you go back. It's consistent action. So, how do you develop a solid foundation for accountability? You have to be clear and set specific goals. Your goals have to be clear and very specific. This is what I want to achieve. I want to be a New York Times bestseller. I want to sell 1 million books. I want to be an author. You break your goals into smaller action steps. So it's a big goal. Now, what are the action steps? In order to sell 1 million books, you have to write one page, then you have to write 10 pages, you have to read, you have to research, you have to pour your heart out. There are steps that need to be taken. But then you've broken it into action steps. These action steps will not happen in isolation. You're not going to wave a magic wand. What you're going to do is create routines and systems that would help you accomplish these things that you want to accomplish. Routines are things that you do consistently. Systems are ways that you do these things. So you are not repeating or starting from scratch all the time. So you have a system for writing, you have a system for research, you have a system for reviewing. But it's about measuring and tracking your progress. So you're not just walking. You're measuring your progress. You're saying, okay, I've written 5 pages. I've sent these 5 pages to my editor because I want them to read it. I want somebody's perspective on my draft. You are doing certain things. You are giving yourself milestones that you can measure and reward yourself consistently. But it's not just about moving forward and running ahead, but it's about you saying, you know what? I need to factor in situations where I can regularly review my progress, my system, my way of doing things, my mindset to ensure that I am on the right track and I have not derailed. That I was not writing about James, I'm not writing about Joseph. I've not forgotten the key things of my book. I'm using a book as an example. Then, if you're accountable to somebody, be transparent with that person. Don't beat yourself up when things go wrong. I think that's one thing we all do. And every single person does it in one way or the other. Today I was doing it to myself, and my sister had to tell me, don't beat yourself up. You're being too hard on yourself. Because I was like, I don't think I'll be able to make co-working and this session because I wasn't feeling too well. But we beat ourselves up over small slip ups. The slightest discomfort, we are beating ourselves up. We are calling ourselves worst names on earth. How do you speak to yourself when you fail? How do you speak to yourself when things don't go the way they are supposed to go? How do you speak to yourself when you are not on track? Do you derail your growth by demeaning yourself, or do you uplift yourself and make you realize that, okay, these are the areas I made mistakes, these are my blind spots. Let's block these productivity gaps with tasks and things that can help me be the best version of myself. But when we talk about accountability, we said self accountability. But the good news is self accountability is not the only form of accountability that exists. Now, you can be accountable to a couple of people, but we're going to look at just three forms of accountability. We are looking at peer accountability, mentorship accountability, and group accountability. Pastor Happy once told me that there are three types of people that you should be having conversations with, three levels of people. There are people that have gone above you, people that are coming behind you, and people that are on your level. So if you have these three categories of people that are holding you accountable or you're engaging with, you can grow. So why do we need peer accountability? Why do we need people? And I'll be giving examples. Now, one place I have thrived since I decided to join the knowledge economy, since I became a knowledge economy worker, is peer accountability. I have people that I call my peers that hold me accountable when I am doing certain things. I have Eme, I have Folakemi, I have Tobechuku, I have um Bolu, I have Nene, I have BC, I have all these people that I speak to when I am doing certain things. And now my I have three tasks I must complete this week, and I would hold myself accountable, but my team will also hold me accountable. It refers to the practice of holding one another responsible for shared goals or commitments within a group or team setting. There are some key points about implementing effective peer accountability, because peer accountability, there has to be that consensus. It's not something that you don't do without your consent. Every single person decides to make a decision. So when you join my mastermind group, we are all in it together. So peer accountability could be formal or informal, but I prefer a formal structure. Why? Because when you have a formal structure for accountability about meeting times, frequency of meetings, the way conversations will go, every single thing is defined by members of the group. So we establish group norms and standards together. So we're co-creating shared guidelines that ensures that everybody understands what they are doing. So that's what has happened in my accountability group. We agreed that we meet every Wednesday, for example, and we meet every Wednesday. We define everybody's responsibility, collective and individual. As a group, we're responsible for something, but individually, everybody else is responsible for stuff. So, for example, when it comes to the hot seat, everybody gets to have an opportunity to speak about the goals they are working on. So, I'm working on a newsletter and I missed the last meeting. So, I send a message to them to say, oh, I'm working on this. These are the names I have in mind. And they can give me constructive feedback because we have a structure. So what we've done is we've designed a system to check in on progress regularly. So we share updates, like I talked about the Wednesday updates, and you can do this. Why am I using myself as an example today? So you can see how you can do this for yourself. It's also about providing positive reinforcement. Why do you need positive reinforcement if I'm telling you that you should take ownership of your goal? Because you can't do it alone. Are you not tired of doing this entrepreneurship, creative, freelancing business alone? Don't you need people that can hold you and listen to you sometimes? Because sometimes those around you don't understand what you're going through. But you need people that understand what you're going through and can support you on your journey. So when I'm doing a newsletter and I do not know how to do the marketing aspect, I can speak with somebody and say, okay, this is where I need help. When I'm trying to manage my team and I'm struggling, I can get people to come on board and help me manage them. Because what we do is we conduct peer evaluations. Why do you conduct peer evaluations? Because everybody gives feedback when you're on the hot seat. The hot seat is not the easiest place to be. It's hot because it's very, 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 very hot. You will present your ideas to the team, to your group, and they give you feedback. They tell you, oh, this is a good idea, this is not a good idea. Accountability rocks when it's used well. What else happens? We don't play the blame game. We approach accountability from a collaborative, not punitive lens. We leverage our peer pressure positively. Sometimes peer pressure can be positive because we just say, you know what, if I go for this meeting and I don't do my part, what's going to happen to me? You are now just not doing it for yourself. You are doing it because you want to be part of something good. Everybody is growing together, and the consequences are clear. We focus on solution, but we are mutually accountable. We hold each other accountable. So why is this important? Why do you need peer accountability? Because you need to understand that this journey that you are on, you don't need to have it or do it on your own. You can get the support that you need to thrive. And this support comes from your peers also. But you have to be intentional about who you choose to be part of your peer, part of your accountability. Who do you allow into your circle? Not everybody can come into your circle when it comes to peer accountability. But let's look at mentorship now. Now, mentorship is fantastic, especially we're not going to go into types of mentorship, especially if you realize that there is something you can gain from the person and something the person can gain from you. You don't go into the mentorship relationship with, oh, help me get this, help me get it. Sometimes we go with to a mentorship relationship with a hand me down mentality. And that's not what a mentorship relationship is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a developmental relationship. And a more experienced and knowledgeable person is guiding you and supporting you so that you can collapse time and you do not have to make the mistakes that they made. The mentor mentee relationship is one that we do not use well, that we don't understand how to benefit from because we are always looking for people to help us get into positions, but we're not prepared to learn. We're not prepared to be told that this is not good. And the mentorship relationship, although, yes, my coach is my mentor, coaches and mentors are different. My coach is my mentor and he can call me out, and I like when he does because it helps me become better. But be intentional about who you call your mentor physically, spiritually, emotionally in the workplace. We can talk about mentorship another day in more details, but this is what I will say. It's built on mutual trust and respect. There is a commitment that you both make to each other. So your mentor is committed to your development. And as a mentor, you are meant to enable that individual's transformation. You are not just having a mentee that you can send on errands. No, that's not the relationship you want. That's not what growth is about. Some people believe that if they suffered and they served everybody tea, everybody that comes into a relationship with them must serve them. That's not necessarily right. We want to collapse time so that these people grow faster than we did. That's why that relationship is important. It's built on mutual trust, respect, and commitment. So even if you say it's built on trust, respect, and commitment, it's built on you doing what you've told your mentor you will do, even if your mentor would not ask you. What else? Here are some ways you can provide can foster mentorship relationships and accountability. I thought somebody wanted to join the call. You provide perspective as a mentor. You provide perspective for the person. You share wisdom. You set expectations. You are like, this is what I expect from you. This is how often we will meet. Now, with people that I am the accountability coach, I say, how often do you want us to meet? How should I hold you accountable? And then it's about instilling discipline, not fear. Discipline is a word that we are all scared of, but it has been misused. But when we instill discipline in a mentor-mentee relationship, so even if that relationship becomes something close, that mutual respect for the person that is you're learning from is there. And then your the mentor is monitoring progress, but you're also monitoring progress because when you go for your meetings, you have your notes, you have specific questions that you want to ask. You're not just going into these relationships or these conversations blindly. I think one thing that has helped me in my mentor mentee relationship is that it has pushed me out of my comfort zone. It has pushed me out of my comfort zone. It has made me do the things that I would not want to do. It has shaped my book. It has shaped every single thing that I do. It has provided resources for me, listening ears when I need them, offers encouragement, and the feedback I receive, because feedback is important, has helped me to become the best version of myself. Now, group accountability is another way you can do it. So you're all part of a group. It's not really a small peer group, but it could be a group made up of different people of different ages. And we won't go into so much details with group accountability. But it's shared responsibility of a team to achieve collective goals and desired outcomes. So you have a collective goal and everybody has specific roles that they are playing. So that's how we're separating group accountability from peer accountability. So the peer accountability could be likened to a mastermind group. I showed you examples of my mastermind groups, but each individual is being reliable and answerable to the group for their contribution. So you're playing a role and you're contributing something to the overall success of the group. So group accountability, once one person decides not to do what they are meant to do and they are not accountable to the group fails. So we look at group accountability. And what happens with group accountability? What happens with this is beautiful thing about group accountability is that increases collaboration. There's this motivation to get things done. We have to share resources. So there's resource sharing amongst members of the group. And uh, it could be argued that it does reduce social loafing. Some people say it does, it doesn't, because some people can hide in the group. But in my opinion, it does. And sometimes it helps you to detect problems earlier. When things are delegated and people are being held accountable, it helps you identify when something is going wrong quick, because the job gets done quicker. And it's about trust. It creates that trust in yourself, trust in your team, and it increases initiative. In summary, group accountability generates a sense of unified purpose, responsibility, and commitment that allows teams to accomplish more together. So, with group accountability, it's about that team that you're working with them, being accountable for your own actions, even if no one is watching or observing. That's where group accountability comes in. And with the rest, I will just quickly talk a little bit about what happens with self accountability and when you are able to master accountability. When you master accountability, beautiful things happen. It builds consistency in your actions, because you're saying you want to be consistent. The only way to build consistency in your actions is by putting effort and taking steps regularly and holding yourselves accountable when you don't do it. And that's the beautiful thing about this. It helps you master self discipline, because discipline is not just about using the word and then telling or say, oh, this person is going to discipline me when I don't do it. It's about saying the person will correct you, but rather saying it for yourself, that you know what, self discipline is about me saying I will do something and then doing it even if no one else is watching. And this is what happens with this. Um, when we talk about accountability systems, let's slow down. We need to build systems for growth. You don't want to sit down every night and say, what am I how am I supposed to measure my growth? What am I supposed to do to ensure that I am accountable? You've built systems in there. We talk about systems a lot. It's not just about talking about self-discipline, productivity, accountability, but you need to build systems that help you overcome accountability pitfalls. And one of those important systems is the ability to have your daily, weekly, monthly reflection. That's what I have incorporated into mine to ensure that I am accountable for my actions. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself questions like, did I do what I said I was going to do? What did I say I was going to do? And what will I do tomorrow? Simple questions that you will not be able to answer. When it comes to projects, you're holding yourself accountable for the projects that you are on. You have put a system in there where these dates are fixed, where your actions are fixed, where your tasks are fixed, the way you accomplish certain things is done in advance. So you're not always starting from scratch. And if you're the one that struggles to do it alone and you need support, there's always a community you can join. You could join the commitment circle, our community, or you could look for a community of people around you. Gather your friends and start building something. But the power of community cannot be ignored. When we try to do things on our own, we struggle. We're not saying that we're totally dependent on the community, but we're saying this: in order for you to thrive, you need a support system that helps you thrive. You need to either get one that is man-made, or man-made, that means assigned by a coach, a mentor, or you do it with your friends. But do not neglect community. Community helps. And another thing that we should mention before we end today, because I'm conscious of time, is this: when you get victory, when you succeed, no matter how small your milestones are, you need to celebrate your wins. And when you don't, you need to learn from your setbacks. What went wrong? What did I do wrong? And you learn from your wins as you're celebrating your wins. Why did I succeed this time? You're asking yourself difficult questions and you're answering these questions. Why are you learning from your wins and your failures? Because data is important. We're making decisions based on past data about who we are, what we did, how we did it, and the outcomes. So, if you are celebrating your wins and learning from your setbacks, it's all about curating the data in a way that you can easily evaluate it. So, data is important. And the beautiful thing about the digital age is this: in the digital age, it's beautiful because there are apps you can use, there are graphs you can use Excel, you can use Airtable, Notion. There are different things you can use to hold yourself accountable. There's a new app that I'm thinking of trying. It's called 75 hard, where you go hard for 75 days and do certain things, and you measure your success. So there are things out there for you to use. Accountability is the digital age. Yes, the devices can be distracting, but there are also benefits from using them. There are also timers you can put on your phone. So it's about understanding that these challenges and these distractions exist, but they can be managed, not completely eliminated. You cannot say you will not do anything when it comes to using devices. We've talked a little bit about check-ins and process tracking. So weekly, I said my recommendation is doing it weekly, monthly, and daily. And all these things, you're doing them in a different way. You're not using the same format for your tracking, but you are able to keep records because this is the data that we are going to use. And um, when we look at feedback and support, this all comes from your group. Seek feedback only from people that will give you the best feedback, not somebody that is looking to belittle you. Seek feedback from somebody that understands part of your struggles and understands what you're doing. Seek feedback from people that can help you grow and be the best version of yourself. When you have the right feedback, you are able to make decisions, and a good day for your a bad day for your ego is a good day for your soul. So you receive feedback that you don't really like and you are angry. Because rather than learning from this, because you want to grow from the feedback that you receive. Remember, feedback is still data. It's information. And what do we do with data and information? We use it to make informed decisions. So you're making decisions based on past experiences and the information you are getting from these experiences. And to me, that just makes it fantastic. How do you harness accountability for lifelong success? It's simple, but not easy. Do what you say. When you make a commitment, keep your commitment to your commitment. Once you commit to something, do it. Don't hesitate. No matter how difficult it is, show up, even if you're not going to show up 100%. Remember, progress, not perfection. Imposter syndrome is only possible when you have acquired certain skills. Sometimes it's doubt, fear, and low self esteem that are preventing you from speaking up or doing what you should do. And that's our next topic, because sometimes we procrastinate for different reasons. So, how can we overcome procrastination in a healthy way? That's what we're going to be discussing today. on Wednesday. So, how do you hold yourself accountable? Now, this is a challenge I want you to think about. How are you going to hold yourself accountable? And what are you going to mention? One thing, just one thing, not 10. Mention one thing you want to hold yourself accountable for between now and the end of this month. And send me a DM if you held yourself accountable, if you succeeded. And I've talked about success stories of how I have taken accountability serious and taking action serious. But we end with this: when you are looking of thinking of your challenge, think of something that you've been trying to do, but you just find yourself unable to do it. So when we talk about procrastination, it would help you a little bit more. Well, make a commitment to yourself that you will take one action daily and hold yourself accountable. Observe what happens when you try. Learn from your mistakes, learn from your successes, learn from the fact that, oh, I want to wake up before my alarm clock every day. That's something simple. I don't want you to think of something complicated. Keep it simple, keep it friendly, keep it fun, and I'm sure you would enjoy the whole process. Well, today we've talked about the power of accountability. We are looking at self accountability, but we also observe that you can't do this alone. You need community, you need people to support you on this journey. We understand that in order for us to grow, we need others that will support us. We've looked at three different forms of support we can receive, whether it's peer accountability, mentorship, or group accountability. We also established the fact that peer accountability is vital because that can be a mastermind where people with similar ideas and on similar journeys come all together to help each other grow and hold each other accountable for their actions and inactions. And for me, that's just been fantastic because peer accountability has helped me grow. Peer accountability has helped me to achieve results I would not have been able to achieve and to actually master my craft. So, what are you making a commitment to do? That's your challenge. I know I always have a quiz, but I didn't have a quiz this time because I wanted to give you a challenge. What are you going to hold yourself accountable for before the end of the month? One thing you will show up for daily, and I just want you to show up. And with that, I bid you good night. Thank you so much for everyone listening on different platforms from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you. And I will see you same time on Wednesday. So Wednesday's conversation is going to be on action over inaction, breaking free from procrastination and doubt. How do you take action and take action consistently? Because we've talked about procrastination so many times. How many people procrastinate here? I don't want you to raise your hands, but figuratively, I can see more hands up. It's a rhetorical question, and we all know the answer. We procrastinate in one way or the other. How do we stop procrastinating? That's just what we're going to look at. So, thank you so much for joining me today, and have a wonderful night. I see you